Greetings and salutations. Please allow me to welcome you to Masterpiece Theater. I'm your host, Obba Babatunde, and here on Masterpiece Theater, we celebrate the very best in the spoken word, the written word, and the word expressed in song. In addition, we pay tribute to the talented artists that bring those words to life. Each week here on Masterpiece Theater, I have the pleasure of engaging brilliant artists in one-on-one conversation that explores the great treasures and these writers and actors and singers and dancers possess as we spotlight their artistry that illuminates us all. So I say, a very warm welcome. And welcome, 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 welcome. I am thrilled today to be here. This is one exciting and exceptional day. It's going to be a bit of a departure from our customary show. Today I'd like to embark on a discussion, a conversation, if you will, among a group of artists who happen to be colleagues, also happen to be iconic figures, standard bearers, not just in the world of entertainment, but at the world at large. The phrase, "This person needs no introduction," is befitting each and every one of my guests today, whose collective careers span close to 210 years.
Goodness. Yikes.
Quit adding.
Yikes.
Let me start by welcoming my first guest and my friend, actor John Wesley, from After the Violence, In the Heat of the Night, Rock, and Dirty Dancing. John, so great to have you in studio. Thank you so much, my brother, for being here.
Oh, I'm so honored that you would include me in this discussion. I really am quite humbled, actually, by your words, and just glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you here. Seated next to him, I'd like to welcome my good friend, Mr. Robert Guilluame. Names like Benson Jacques Burrell is live and well and living in Paris, Sports Night, then the unforgettable Phantom of the Opera, just to name a very few. Ladies and gentlemen, the great, the omnipotent, Mr. Robert Guilluame. Hey, Robert, thank you so much for being here, sir.
Oh, your introduction leaves me speechless. Thank you, Obba.
That's a joy. Seated next to Mr. Guilluame, Julia Claudine Dynasty. I'm talking about an artist with a career. Refined the image of black women. Women in general. A person of self-poise, at once elegant, dignified, and full of grace. Please say hello to Ms. Diahnn Carroll.
Hello, and thank you so much. As Robert said, thank you for those kind words. I think as we age, we really do need those kind words more often than we hear them. But it's a joy to be here with you today, and thank you for inviting me in this very prestigious group here. Thank you.
Listen, the honor, the room is blessed by all of your presence. Seated next to Ms. Carroll is Mr. Michael Schultz, Cooley High, Grease Lightning, Which Way Is Up, Crush Groove, Car Wash, The Last Dragon, and over 138 documented directorial credits, and a great man still completely making sure that we are represented in the imagery that we should be and deserving to. Mr. Schultz, thank you so much, Michael, for being here.
It's great being here. Thank you for being a math major.
And seated next to me, my friend, this gentleman, I have been working so hard to get him to be here. He has got an unbelievably busy schedule. And, you know, he kept saying, well, Obba, man, we got to get this together, man. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to come and do the show. And he made it happen. Shows like Chicago Hope, Boston Legal, West Wing, now NCIS. My friend and a gentleman and a scholar, Mr. Rocky Carroll. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for letting me audit this class today. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, I'm thrilled that everybody's here. We have so much to talk about. We just completed this monumental experience with it being Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday and the inauguration of the 44th president, Mr. Barack Hussein Obama. I would like to ask this esteemed group exactly some of your feelings about, now that Barack has got a second term. Just briefly, if you will be kind enough to weigh in on what your feelings are in reference to what this means for the country and the world at large. Who would like to go first?
Well, it's a lot of questions to answer there, young man.
Yes.
I most surely do not want to go first, but I heard that question. It's a difficult thing to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
We hope that the courage and intellect that carried him over the last 4 years will be there with much more experience than we thought he would have to go through. I mean, he's just gone through every war, and it's just really a very difficult time to be president of anything, and certainly president of the United States.
Exactly.
I think he's quite magnificent in so many ways that some of the things we may want to criticize in terms of, I wish he had not done this or had not done that, or also Mrs. Had not done it. But they're growing, and they're very young. I have to face that. He is younger than my daughter. I've never had a president in the White House who was younger. So that is first with my gathering information about him. But I think we all must be very proud. He stepped up to the plate and done it beautifully. And I don't think anyone in the White House knows where anything is going. I really don't. The older I get, the more I realize that it's a wonderful play that they wrote many, many, many years ago, and it depends basically on how you can fit into the part that was almost carved out for you by the existence of the House and the Senate and so on and so forth. But he does make me feel great pride, and so does she. And watching them as they develop, I see things that she does as a young woman that I want to call her and say, "Take that off." Please. She's a very bossy mother. But I'm proud to be alive to see this.
Excellent. Michael?
I think it was quite auspicious that the second inauguration was on Martin Luther King Day. There's something in the stars that shine on Obama and actually shine on us. I think his re-election in the face of just virulent racism
Absolutely.
Says a lot about this country. And, as Martin said, we shall overcome. We haven't yet, but we shall.
All right. Mr. Guilluame, what are you feeling?
Well, I think that more than overcoming, the odds that were stacked against us since our introduction into this country and the people who controlled it at the time, I think, were so it was of such a large proportion that for us to come up with a president like Obama is almost miraculous, given even our own record here in this country. We were very, very fortunate to get a man like Obama to help us to help the country sort out a really almost intractable problem.
Wow. All right. Well, listen, Rocky, weigh in, bro.
Weigh in. Well, the late August Wilson wrote a play called Radio Golf. And there's a line from that play that the old man, upon finding out his good fortune, says, and I love this line. And the old man basically says, They say if you live long enough, the boat will turn around. Big boats turn slow, but they turn nonetheless. This nation is a very big boat.
Right.
And it takes it's going to be a long time for the boat to turn around completely. But the inauguration, the pageantry of the inauguration, I think at first before watching, I thought to myself, do we really need a second inauguration for a president who's been reelected? But after seeing it and sort of seeing the pageant and the importance of having that presentation for the world, my view changed on that. But you just think about it. Here's the leader of the free world who, a little over 150 years ago, might have been the legal property of another man.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. To piggyback on what Mr. Guilluame said, that the leader of the free world would not have been a free man had he been born 150 years ago. That was one of the first. It just burns in my mind when I'm standing there and watching him. I'm listening to him deliver his state of address, his inauguration address. And we complained about sometimes change being slow, but there are other societies thousands of years old who are just in awe of what this country in less than 240 years has done.
Right.
And that is living proof of it. So that's what I came away with.
There you go, brother. John.
I was thinking about it the other day. I was talking with a woman from Germany, and she was telling me that in her country, they really, really hold the black man in high esteem, and the reason being, their history teaches them that we've come from slavery all the way to the White House. And it's just, it's so extraordinary you can't hardly really put it together because it's a long ways. But when I think of Barack, ever since he was elected, I just swell up with pride, man. He's so extraordinarily brilliant, and he has gifts that are quite evident. And so he represents us in a very profound and special way, which leaves me always bragging about him. As a black man and a man who does understand something about our history, I am sort of humbled by God's power, because I don't want to take this to a religious place, but I think without some higher power, I don't know how this could happen.
Right.
Barack is our guy. He's proven himself time and time again. He looks pretty strong this second time now. He looks like he's not going to tolerate a lot of things he had to tolerate in order to be reelected. So I'm looking forward to this second go-round. He's already standing a little taller and talking, well, I won't say the word, but he seems like he's headed in the direction. If you want to talk that talk, we can do that too.
I love that.
Go Barack. That's what I say.
Indeed. Well, listen, you see, these are what, I love these kind of discussions, because we get an opportunity to cover the entire gamut of because, contrary to popular belief, black people are not all monolithic in their thought. And that's one of the things that we get an opportunity to hear, the diverse feelings and opinions of us who have been around a little bit longer to know the difference between good and great. Right. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back. And I got another segment that I want to do that I think is going to be entertaining and exciting for everybody that's listening. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, are you tired of those same old energy drinks with bad taste? Make a switch to Pit Bull Energy Drink with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Pit Bull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pit Bull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Make a switch to Pit Bull Energy Drink. Pit Bull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pit Bull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products. For more information on Pit Bull energy drinks, bars, and mixes, visit their website at hiphopbev.com. That's hiphopbev.com. Online orders available at hiphopbev.com.
My. That is from the beautiful musical motion picture, Porgy and Bess. And the lady that you saw with that child happens to be here in the studio. That was Miss Diahnn Carroll.
But I must ask you to clarify, because I've been asked this so many times. I was asked to perform this.
Yes.
And I said, I can't. You know, we
Yes.
have to accept what I am. I'm a popular artist.
Yes.
And our popular music of that day
Yes.
was good. Not like whatever it is we're listening to today. But I don't remember her name, but she has a beautiful voice. And that's what she did for a living.
Yes. Well, you know, it's interesting. And just in brief, you know, there was that I would be identified as lip syncing.
That's right.
Right.
Now, there was a big issue, as you know, with the inauguration about Beyonce lip syncing. And one of the things that in that movie, Mr. Sidney Poitier also lip sang. As a matter of fact, from what it is my understanding and research has taught me, there was only 3 people that actually whose voices were used. That was Sammy Davis Jr., Pearl Bailey, and Brock Peters. Mm-hmm. Everybody else was lip syncing. But I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you get an opportunity to take a witness and view this film, and I'm going to give you some case history about this, it's very, very interesting. But if you get a chance to witness this film, you would never know that those individuals were lip syncing. So the idea is that they took, Ms. Carroll, you took this woman's voice, and the way you interpreted and made me feel there was never any understanding. It did not take away in any way, and unto itself is a craft. And so I want to applaud you for that, and all the other members of that cast. Mr. Poitier, the way he represented with that, the breath. You know, as a singer, it is not easy to then articulate what someone else has already laid down. It's even difficult enough to do it to your own voice, let alone someone else's. So I played that with the intention of firstly recognizing the fact that all of those people were brilliant artists in that feature film, and also the fact that you also in that helped brand the way that we identified the story that was going to be told. And so there is nothing to be taken from you in the fact that you were not actually singing that, because you still represented what it was, and your artistry superseded the fact that it wasn't actually your voice. And I just wanted to take the time to say that.
I think because my beginnings were on stage.
Okay.
And I was very accustomed to learning music that could not be mine.
Yes.
But it was something that I would have to interpret, and I'm happy that was the beginning of my career. I was in House of Flowers in 1953 or 54, something like that. But that kind of training taught me that there is nothing to be taken away from any artist who is trying to do their work as best they can. And I'm not going to be annoyed with God that he didn't give me an opera voice, because it's such a difficult way to live, protecting that instrument when you are an operatic. But it was my joy to be a part of this film. Yes. No matter what, I was going to do my level best.
Let me just give a point of case point in history, and then we're going to open I have this thing that's called Thoughts, Comments, and Feelings, and I'm going to give some individual names and have my guests talk about those individuals with their thoughts, feelings, or comments. But that movie, I don't know if even you are aware of this, but there is only 2 copies of that movie in existence, because the Gershwin family had them burned. Wow. Because they felt that it was a misrepresentation of the great work of that family.
Say that again, please.
That all of the copies of that feature film were destroyed. Because, and the reason I know this is that Brock Peters, the great Brock Peters, who played Crown in that movie,
right,
shared this with me, because we tried to get it to have a screening of this movie. And he and Chan Berry are probably the only 2 people that actually still had the original copies of the movie, because they burned it, because they felt that it was a misrepresentation of the great legacy of the Gershwin family's music. So it's we're dealing with some issues here, and
it's a very Nazi thing to do. It's very unkind to feel that something that is a part of the arts, a film, the work of the actors, the work of the director, the cinematographer, everyone. Why are we left with only the opinion of the family who wants to protect something that they wanted to be? I mean, if anybody should sue, we should sue because nobody asked them to. They could have taken from their family and done a musical. It wouldn't have been as beautiful, because this is the part of American history that has that double-edged sword. Yes. You hate it, but you love it because it's beautifully done. And he did it very well.
Yes.
So we had to forgive them because we were presented with this lovely music and also these lovely people. But it wasn't nice to burn it.
No,
it was unkind, and selfish.
Let me then. That brings me to the gentleman who played Porgy in that, and this is called Thoughts, Comments, and Feelings. Mr. Guilluame, I want to come to you with this. The great Sidney Poitier. Speak to me from your experience, your heart, viewpoints, thoughts, comments on the man.
Well, I have to be very selective because on the one hand, there is no doubt that he opened a door for all of us at the time, and still does.
Yes.
And but there's always that little, don't misunderstand this word, there's always that little niggardly part of ourselves as actors, at which time I became aware of Sidney Poitier and what he meant, that always wanted to criticize him for things that, first of all, I didn't know that much about, but criticism seems to come to us, or it came to me very easily.
At that time.
Yes, and still does. But my feeling about Sidney has grown over the years, and as it should have been. I feel much more mature now in my estimation of him. So I went all the way from not really understanding, well, what is he doing and who is he and who does he represent and all of that. I had all these questions then, but they didn't mean anything to me until perhaps simply a few days ago when I knew I was going to be asked a question which I could not answer.
Now, you also were in the box with him when he received his Oscar, his honorary Oscar. Is that correct?
Yes. That was pure serendipity. I didn't know that that was going to happen. I think he called Donna and I, my wife, to suggest that it was possible that we were going to be in his box at the Academy Awards. Of course, I was extremely honored.
There you go.
And I really didn't know how to behave. I was trying to be seen and not be seen.
Yes, that's hard sometimes.
Yes.
Interesting.
It can hardly be pulled off by anyone but the devil.
Okay.
Robert and I talk about a scene from Heat of the Night when the white guy slapped Sidney and Sidney slapped him back.
Yes.
And how profound a moment that was. In fact, the director told us that he almost didn't get it because it wasn't scripted. The guy was supposed to slap him, and I guess he was supposed to do whatever we did in those days.
Take it. Suck it up.
As I recall, they knew that he was not going to allow someone to slap him without slapping him back. Maybe that's the general information that they had. Maybe he didn't say, I'm going to do it here or there, whatever. But they knew that it was impossible. That's one of the things I do love going back in my memory, because we were together for a very long time.
Yes.
But his dedication to every move, every action was something he thought about until it could drive you crazy. But he was
Brilliant.
also wonderful at how to present. So he may not have said, I'm going to knock him down here.
Right.
He said, I'm definitely, if he knocks me down, I'm going to. Yes. I owe it to my audience.
Yes.
Well, while I'm there with you, Diahnn, I'm going to give you a name. Josephine Baker.
Yes. And I think this is well, I know she's a great talent, but I think I'm like Bob here. I don't know a great deal about her. But I do know that there's something in her DNA that I would like to feel akin to, because she was so magnificent. I saw her for the first time when I was in high school. And Josephine went through an incredible time in her career when people would come from everywhere to see her because we'd heard about her, read about her. But I don't know that she was always performing in the United States.
Right.
And when she walked on stage, and I must have been, 15, maybe 40, something like that, she took my breath away. And I thought, oh, God, what is this? And how do I get some of it?
Did you ever have an opportunity to meet her?
Yes, I used to work a place that is it still standing? It's called the Waldorf Astoria in New York City. And because they knock everything down so fast. But it was when I was called that she was downstairs in the audience. Once again, that same sensation. Because she was an actress, a singer, a dancer, and multilingual and quite eloquent. She decided to stay in Europe. I don't know how old she was when she made that decision.
And all of this at a time when this was not customary.
Right.
For someone of her ilk.
Yes.
And someone of her nationality.
Right.
I mean, the reason I'm bringing up these names, ladies and gentlemen, and they might be new to you, and I would suggest respectfully that you go, and if you haven't done your work in learning about who these people are, that you go and find out who they are, because they're a part of the American history. They're a part of the lexicon of that which we understand and identify as America, and they also extend themselves beyond the shores of America. I'm going to give you a name, John. W.E.B. Du Bois.
Wow. Brilliant intellect. A man way ahead of his time. This is the guy who told us in the early 1900s that the problem of the 20th century was going to be the color problem. We're still wrestling with it in the 21st century. This guy, I suppose he was the first race man to come along and say, this will not stand, and began to do something about it. He spent his whole life trying to, I think, uplift all of us, really, but he just was attacking issues as they came his way, and he just was a profound hero that we should all pay homage to. Just a magnificent intellect.
I love the fact that you continue to use the word intellect. And if we had more time, in which we'd like to get everybody back again, we'd like to expound on the concept of when somebody is identified as an intellect. Because sometimes, when people who are in black are referred to as intellects, they somehow then are removed from the concept that they would somehow be emotionally connected to feeling people, talented people, artistic people. They're again put in this little tiny box as an intellect, and then somehow are shunned from one another. Because the things that we're talking about, and the reason I'm excited about taking these names in particular, is that we're learning about the diversity, but also the similarity. We're learning about ourselves, because as we talk about them, we talk about ourselves. Michael, I'm going to come to you, sir, and ask you to give you a name, Lloyd Richards.
Lloyd Richards. Probably a name that none of your listeners will have heard. But Lloyd Richards was one of the first black directors on Broadway.
Correct.
You heard of Lou Gossett Jr.?
Yes.
We talked about Sidney Poitier.
Yes.
Lloyd trained as actors probably every black actor who made a name in that period. And actually, I think Rocky, didn't you work with Lloyd?
On Broadway.
Yes.
I was on Broadway with Lloyd, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Lloyd Richards directed Raisin in the Sun.
Lorraine Hansberry.
Not only did he direct the play, but he actually nurtured and crafted playwrights. And Lorraine Hansberry was one of the first that he crafted. And I use that word very deliberately. He discovered and crafted August Wilson. And after he and August stopped working together, you saw kind of the disintegration of August's craft because he didn't have that guiding hand of Lloyd Richards. Lloyd Richards took over the drama department of Yale University.
Right, exactly.
And trained people like Meryl Streep,
Yes.
like Paul Newman.
Yes. Rock Dutton.
Rock Dutton, of course.
Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett. That's the name I was searching for.
Rocky Carroll.
Rocky Carroll.
Right.
You know?
And Diahnn Carroll. How would I dare not work with Lloyd?
There you
Great.
We had to. You had to.
He had such a pervasive influence
Right.
on the art form and helped to create something called the Eugene O'Neill
That's right.
Memorial Foundation. And his plan for that was adopted by Sundance
That's right.
Film Institute, and Sundance did for film what he was doing for theater.
You see?
Actually, Sundance borrowed that idea, Michael.
Exactly,
and
that's
put
what I'm
it,
saying.
They've got a playwriting development thing there.
Exactly.
You're right.
Now, as a director yourself, were you somehow then, because we talked about the actors and him developing and crafting those actors, how did that work for you as a director, sir?
Well, he kind of took me under his wing, but not as a director. He kind of opened some doors, you know. We never had a conversation about directing, which is really interesting. But he brought me up to the Eugene O'Neill, and I met Derek Walcott there and directed,
Yes.
you know,
Primo Monkey
stage
Mountain.
reading of his play, and then
Yes.
that led to other things. Lloyd was that kind of quiet force that would direct whomever in the right direction.
There you go. A director's director. Okay, I'm going to come to my brother, Rocky Carroll. I'm going to give you a name, bruh. Duke Ellington.
Duke Ellington. All right, when you are faced with the truth, when the truth hits you head on, you can either embrace it, accept it, or you can turn and run, but you will never be the same after you've embraced the truth head on. Duke Ellington. If I had only 2 words to refute throughout history, the myths, the untruths, the falsities that were used to describe why Africans in America, why black people should be treated the way they are, should be subjected to the legal climate, the social climate of the times, whatever untruths that were used
Yes.
to suggest that black people were somehow inferior. If I had 2 words to refute that, if I only were allowed 2 words to refute any theory, those 2 words would be Duke Ellington.
There you go.
Duke Ellington, it was living proof that whatever these theories, whatever these untruths were about us as inferior beings, he flew in the face of that. creatively, every aspect of his being flew in the face of any of these myths or untruths about the inferiority of the African in America or the African American. That's my belief about Duke Ellington. He is living proof of a superior being in so many ways.
You know what? It's funny that you say that. You know, this is interesting, guys. You know, when you talk about composers, okay, and we'll talk about someone like Mozart. Mm-hmm. Right? I think Mozart composed, I think it is 360 compositions in his lifetime. And he is considered to be one of the great composers of all time. Mm-hmm. Duke Ellington, in his lifetime, composed, I think, 1,500 compositions. 1,500s. But yet when we speak about Mozart, we say that his music is classics. We speak about Duke Ellington's music as old school. I think it's an interesting concept that we should take a look at. Listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Well, it's actually, I just wanted you to get a chance to pay attention to this. Watch this. My studio guest is going to do something for you right now before you.
Sensation, darkness stirs and wakes imagination. Silently the senses abandon their defenses. Slowly, gently, night unfurls.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the voice of my studio guest, the only man to wear the mask that happens to be of black skin, Mr. Robert Guilluame. That was Music of the Night, performed here in Los Angeles at the Mark Taper Forum. It was, without a doubt, one of the finest performances, and I had seen Michael Crawford, not to take anything from him, but I had seen Michael Crawford and others do this role. When Mr. Guilluame took on that stage and took on that character, it became something else because of the manifestation of his own life and that which he embodies. And I'm thrilled, sir, to get an opportunity to share that with people and remind them what it is that great artistry is all about. Thank you for your contributions. If you were here in studio, you would feel the air. It is thick, it is tight, it is strong. We are all in awe, and we understand the journey that we go through to bring about these kinds of performances. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move into my next segment. And in the interest of time, I'm going to have to respectfully suggest to my guest that we kind of keep it kind of tight, if that's at all possible.
It's impossible.
I realize it because we should have another show with you. If you all will, if I can find the time to get you guys to put your schedules together to come back. But Mr. Schultz, Cooley High, Grease Lightning, Which Way Is Up, Crush Groove, Car Wash, The Last Dragon, and countless others represented a vision of blacks happening to people of black skin, but not just in the way we had ever seen it before. You were at the helm of directing those productions. Can you share with me, as you will, why then and how come not now?
I couldn't answer either one of those questions. Why then? It was time. There was enough foment in the streets, following Martin Luther King's existence to change the system. And anyone who was preparing themselves to take advantage of an opportunity was at the right place in history. So I was in college. I was learning theater. I could do anything. When I went to New York, I could do anything. I could act. I could sing. I could dance. I didn't want to do that. I hated that, but I wanted to direct. I could do that.
Yes, yes.
So when the door opened because of the social pressure that was happening,
Okay.
both in New York theater and in Hollywood, I had the tools, fortunately, to do at least a good job, you know. And there are so many stories that we have to be told that were never told in a way from our lens, our spectacles, our view of life, that I just wanted to add to those stories and kind of create a bridge between people.
Well, you certainly did. You certainly did. And the artists that you had an opportunity to work with, we had in studio Glenn Turman. As a matter of fact, you were kind enough to call in Glenn Turman, Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, and Stephen Williams, who were all in Cooley High. And, you know, they talked about that experience. And they talked about the fact that I asked them, I said, did you know when you were doing this was going to be a classic? They said, we had no idea, which speaks to the fact that no one sets out to be a hero. Right. They put themselves in a circumstance and situation that then affords them in doing the best that they can to be the best that they possibly can. Okay, I'm going to say this to Miss Carroll. Julia, Claudine dynasty. Talk to me.
If you don't mind, before I go to Julia, may I just say something I feel cannot go? The first time in my life, and this is in reference to Josephine Baker, the first time in my life that I ever considered that there would be a place for homeless children to assemble with someone to run their lives for them was because of Josephine Baker. She opened a place in Europe that had only one reason for being there. If you needed a place to live and you needed someone to feed you and to also school you. She did an integrated, money came from everywhere when people found out that it was not this crazy, dippy little lady who sings with bananas around her legs, because we get very confused, and with white actors as well as black actors, people become confused until they find your dedication to what, and it became her life.
Exactly.
And that really had more to do with my watching and listening to her for the rest of my life. And then, as I told you, she did come. But we must remember that she did that. I'd never heard of that before.
So we're identifying her humanity.
Absolutely.
Not just a celebrity. And people are very often more impressed with celebrity than they are capability. Yes. And capability has to do with who you are, not what you do. Now tell me about Julia, Claudine, and Dynasty.
Okay. It was a television series. And I was very proud. And it was during the time when we were all saying, no, I don't work on television. No, I don't know too much about television. I really don't. So when I was called, I thought, why are they calling me about this lesser thing? They should be calling me about a film, very full of myself. But I learned when I sat down with the creator, Hal Cantor, and the members of Hierarchy at 20th Century Fox, that they felt exactly what Michael was talking about. The culture was calling for. Okay. And these are people who live with culture on their platter all the time because they have to make their money, and they can't make it if the culture is introduced at the wrong time and to the wrong people in the wrong part of the world. So they do have everything, slavery, everything comes back to money.
Okay.
Everything. Yeah. So I was thrilled. I didn't quite understand, and he explained, he being the creator, that he didn't want a nightclub performance or someone who flies all over the world. And I simply said to him, if we're going to work together, would you let me create Julia?
Thank you so much.
And then I will
Thank
be
you so much.
very happy to take comments. But give me a chance to put this woman together, please. And don't judge by my beaded dresses. You didn't ask me to come here wearing a beaded dress. Do you think I'm an idiot? Of course I'm not. Please, she's a housewife. My mother was a housewife. I'm a housewife. So we started like that, kind of confrontational, which was wonderful. It was wonderful for the project. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we had very different ideas in so many ways, but Julia came to be all over the world. She was very accepted as a mom. And as a woman who was moving into areas of the working world that most black women were not exposed to at that time. So I was very proud and happy to have been the one that they chose to do this. And
well, we're very happy that you were chosen also. And as modest as you are, you must identify that it did brand a new vision of identifying how a black female and the conditions, the circumstances by which that family functioned and what was going on during that time. It was really, really, really something that changed the face of how we were viewed. So we thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to go to my friend, Mr. Guilluame. Benson, sir.
oh, I loved it.
Yeah. Before I say anything about Benson, might I just, I wanted to always comment, or I did not. Well, I wanted to say to Diahnn that I have a program that I watch on Sunday evenings. And it's a television program, and it uses clips from around the world and from way, way back.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally, and so that means that they have a round robin of clips that come back again and again. Some of them not as soon as you'd like them to, but they come back again and again. Well, there's a clip of Josephine Baker as Tam Tam.
Mm-hmm. Tam Tam.
In one of the very first shows she did in France. And I swear, well, first of all, I never knew she could sing as well as I've seen on that particular clip, in a high kind of bell-like sound. And I'm amazed at the how much she looks like you.
Hello.
well, thank you.
I'm amazed.
She's gorgeous.
Not
Well, you know, I've
today. It's
always
raining and it's awful. Not today.
But I've always called you my personal goddess.
Oh,
That's true.
you're going to make me cry.
No,
Thank you so much.
but well, I didn't want to stop the proceedings.
You're talking about Benson.
Benson.
Well, I wasn't talking about Benson.
That's what they do to us. You know that's what they do to us. This is what you were doing. Carry on. And I said, no, that wasn't it.
Benson was a character that immediately I saw the sides that I was given in a particular scene. It was one of those things that I knew immediately, not necessarily what the writer had meant by it, but I saw immediately how to avoid the traps in a character like that. And also and how to come out on top.
Yes.
And I always looked at everything that I had gotten before and since. I've always looked at it and like, here's an opportunity to change something about how America thought of and thinks of black people. That was important to me.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I don't know why I mean, sometimes I wish I had not been saddled with the notion that I was a figure of change of any sort. But somehow I've always been that way. Mm-hmm. My grandmother was a woman who had to do a job such as a Benson would have done. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He was whether you call him a major domo or anything like that, mm-hmm. he was a person who had to do that kind of job. And I don't know whether the job was even all that important. It was the color of the person who had to do the job, which became quite more important than anything that character was going to do. Well, knowing this and being very sensitive to the idea that, see, already I've gotten myself a foot in an area that one can hardly emerge from. But I knew, somehow I knew that something had to be changed. Something that I was doing would have to contribute to a change.
Absolutely.
And I found it in this character. My grandmother had been a laundress, first at a Catholic church in St. Louis, and then she worked for various wealthy families out in what we call the county, which meant it had a whole bunch of associations with it. These people that she was going to work for were wealthy, and presumably charitable. Well, they were.
But you made that character.
Yes, you did,
darling.
Yes, you did.
That only you, thus far, have been able to do. I have to say that.
Absolutely.
I didn't even care for. I didn't watch this show until all of a sudden there was you, and you bring something that is a gift. It is. Absolutely. It separates you from the rest of us. Or those of us who have a little piece of it here, or a little piece of it there. But when you get it, and it is something that has to be a part of this performance that you're doing, I saw you do it also in Phantom of the Opera. It's amazing. You walk on stage and my body goes, oh, shit, there he is.
Well, you see, that which Diahnn identifies as a gift is a gift, and a gift, but mastered, becomes a craft, and that's what you have. That's what everybody in this room has. And speaking of craft, in 20 words or less, to Rocky and to John, talk to me a bit about, in our audience, a little bit about the aspect of theater and its importance. Because I hear a lot of people saying, well, I don't do theater, I'm a movie actor, I'm a television actor. Everybody in this room has been on the boards. Can you guys just weigh in a little bit for me? We're running out of time, but if you can.
It's simple for me. Every star that I admire of color came from the stage. So there's no guesswork there. When you look at Diahnn, or you look at Robert, or you look at James Earl Jones, or you can go practically anywhere and you won't find a more brilliant artist, and most of us have cut our teeth on the stage. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, and it was, my choice was very simple. As a 19-year-old college student, looking at the biographies and the histories of some of these actors that I looked up to, and they all had this the same thing in common. They studied here. There was this training, and then there was a list of of their theater credits. And I thought, this is the only way to go. So when I meet young actors in Hollywood now, and the first thing they ask me is, "What advice do you have for me?" It's like, it depends on what you're looking for. Because if you're looking for a shortcut, I can't give you that.
That's right.
I didn't come the short way.
That's right.
There's only one way that I know. If you want to develop a craft, there's a way to do that. Exactly. If you want to be famous for 2 or 3 years, you can do that.
Go straight to television.
But if you want to develop something that will sustain you for an entire life, then we can have a conversation.
But just 2 things I want to say about Diahnn and Robert. First, Diahnn, since Robert and I have been living together for a while here, her name resonates in our house
You might want to qualify
all the time.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I mean, there's that. But Robert, since I've come to know him quite well over the last 20 years or so, being my brother-in-law and all that stuff, what I discovered was a great, I was talking earlier about W.E.B. Du Bois's intellect.
Yes.
And I realized that Robert had come from his approach to, for example, Benson or anything else, was always intellectual.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Always well thought out, and then he executes. But here's an actor who trained himself, really, wanted to be a singer, but got to New York and said, well, I won't make the Met, so let me try something. Maybe I should look over here. And decided then, I think I want to go into comedy, and began to look at Jack Benny and some of these guys who don't reveal, and said, you know what, I want to put some of that in my game. And this is what he comes up with, an honesty, but not without real thought and a real approach to the work. And that I've just taken and ran with ever since I discovered it about him. And I would pass that on to any actor or any performer or any dreamer.
There you have it.
There you go.
So you see, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about the fact that how intellect finds its way into everything that you do. We're just about out of time, and I want to thank you personally, from the bottom of my heart, each and every one of you, for taking the time out of your life and for the energy that you've put into your life, which I have been a repository of, and many others who you may never have the opportunity to meet. Know that from this point forward, identify that you have really made a difference. Continue to do so. Continue. You are huge giants. And for you to be able to take the time to come out and spend time with this audience and myself, I am honored, and I speak for them and tell you that they thank you as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you have had an opportunity to experience icons today. This is a far and few and rare occasion, and so I would suggest that you watch this show and listen to it over and over again, because the jewels of wisdom that you will receive from this will serve you throughout your life. This is Obba Babatunde. Remember, as I always say, in life, as you do anything is how you do everything, and you don't need anybody's permission to be great. So start today. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
You're really good at this.
Masterpiece Theater is brought to you by Roscoe's Media Center, sponsored by Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles, the makers of Pitbull Energy Drink. The show is engineered by Poetess, written by Obba Babatunde and Kennedy Goldsby, and produced by Paul Goldsby, executive producer, The Good Herb.